Grums on X. There is no more big funding of new game studios. It's all gone. Fallen Creator says $1 million is a reach, and you better be willing to talk AI. Quote, every publisher I've talked to has brought up. So have you thought about how AI might be able to save money on this? It's coming. The AI revolution in gaming is happening. The journals can fight it all they want. The gamers that just don't want AI in their games can try to fight it all they want. It's happening. The current trajectory of the game industry is not sustainable with what's been happening and how costs have been spiraling out of control with it. This is from GameIndustry.biz. Fallen creator Brooke Burgess on the struggle to get game funding above $1 million. Every publisher to talk to wants AI. Getting your video game funded has never exactly been easy, but it's becoming especially hard in the past few years as publishers and investors reverse their COVID-era extravagance. Even small amounts of funding can be hard to secure. Well, wild how things change when the government stops throwing money out of helicopters. People actually start to value the dollar again. Interesting. Inflation slows down too, and life returns back to a normal functioning society. But looking for funding above $1 million is near impossible. Publishers, including Devolver Digital and 11-Bit Studios, have said they're now looking to focus on smaller titles. And oh, by the way, the indie revolution, or AA, if you want to count like Expedition 33 is that, and so many, countless indie games just last year alone that did better than AAA titles that cost hundreds of millions of dollars to produce. If you're a developer, why the hell would you invest millions of dollars into a game right now? What is what's the promise at the end of that? Concord? Where's the money going? What are you building? Why do we need this? Who's going to play it? Who's your audience? You're creating something that already exists somewhere else that people are already playing. Why will they leave that to go to your game? What's different about it? Marathon, I'm looking at you. There's less investment on the line, so you can do things that are a little bit more outside the box, said Nigel Lowry, co-founder and marketing lead of Devolver, in a recent interview with GamesIndustry.biz. There's less risk, both for us and for the developer. The underlying trend seems to be publishers investing small amounts of funding in a large number of micro indies. I see this being the future a mile away. There's going to be a boom in indie games coming towards the latter half of 2026, and 2027 is going to be filled to the brim. There's going to be so many indie games coming out in 2027 and 2028. It's going to be disgusting. And they're going to be good too. That's the other thing. In the hope that at least one of them will make it Balatro big, rather than piling all their cash into a handful of bigger games. The majority are going for the scattershot approach, says Brooke Burgess, who is seeking around $1.5 million for his game Fallen. He took part in an open pitch event at DevGam Lisbon in November, which he says went well, but he has yet to close the deal. I was approached by a lot of people afterwards, he said, plenty of whom offered positive comments. But overall, the message was that anything above $500,000 was out of the comfort zone of potential investors. I think even the investors are looking at AI like, yeah, this is the direction we're going. We don't want to risk more money when there's more you can do for less with the advances in technology we've had in the past couple of years. There's been an interest in the game. Burgess notes that some publishers, particularly ones known for action-adventure games with mature themes, have said Fallen is right within their wheelhouse, yet none has, so far, followed kind words with cash. They're like, let's revisit this in a bit, says Burgess. I almost wonder if people, the investors, are holding on to their money right now because they don't want to throw a whole bunch of money into a game and then find out that the direction is going towards AI and that these games are being made at a 20th or a 50th of the cost of what they were spending money on, basically lighting their money on fire, which would mean that they're holding on right now to see what happens. That's not great. The game itself is a mix of combat and exploration inspired by titles like Hyperlight Drifter, Tunic, and Death's Door, starring an angel called Astra who is sent to hell to shut it down. And what is revealed is this conspiracy about the construction of hell itself and why it exists. That sounds like a badass game, by the way, explains Burgess, with the game ultimately questioning the nature of good versus evil. Just this alone makes me want to play it, by the way. Along the way, Astra has the option of forgiving or condemning the souls she meets. Condemning them will give Astra a buff and extra abilities, while forgiving them will send the soul back up to heaven and forge a link with a powerful archangel who acts like the summons in Final Fantasy. That's badass. Abandoning them, meanwhile, can unlock secret paths and hidden bosses. Kind of like Bioshock options when you find the little girls. There's also something refreshingly old school about Fallen. Tonally, it's reminiscent of Xbox 360 era classics like Darksiders and Dante's Inferno. Damn. Now, Darksiders, that's a name I haven't heard for a while. And the aim is to provide a self-contained, awesome single-player experience that isn't going to be 40, 50, 60 hours of time, because no one has that anymore. Thank you. A developer that actually understands the player. That's great. And judging by the barnstorming success of the similarly old school Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 in 2024, there is a healthy audience for exactly this kind of game. I can't believe Space Marine 2 came out in 2024. I feel like that was like mid 2025 that came out. Man, time goes by fast. I still haven't played it yet. That is on my to-play games. But the budget is the sticking point. And Burgess says that one thing which has worried investors is that this is his first time in the director's chair. There's a little nervousness about that. Not that he lacks industry experience. Burgess began his career as a producer at EA in the late 90s and has worked as a narrative consultant and writer for years across multiple projects. Oh, not an actual DEI hire, but someone who actually has worked in the game industry as a narrative consultant. Okay. The challenge, of course, is right now the landscape of the industry where people are nervous about spending. The purse strings are a little bit tight. Reasonable ask? To fund a game of this scope, $1.5 million isn't a huge amount. In Burgess' business plan, it equates to a small team working for around 2.5 years, bringing on extra talent as needed for things like art support, localization, and marketing. Burgess has even thought about transmedia opportunities like the potential for comics, animations, novels, merchandise. No. Get the game done. Worry about that stuff later. Have someone market it and license it for you. Don't take it all on yourself. But in an indication of just how hard it is finding funding these days, no one is biting. Burgess says he's been dealing with a smaller private financing for about 18 months and actively courting publishers and larger investors for around 7 months. But despite being under review with a handful of them, he's still far from a deal. That's crazy, because once a deal gets locked up, no one else is going to be a part of it. And this is a waiting game. That speaks volumes, not just for this game, but for the entire industry. I think that people follow the zeitgeist and they're like, hey, everyone wants open world, or everyone wants Souls-like. Or now people are like, oh, maybe we can all do JRPGs and Expedition 33 style, says Burgess. But his chief motivation is simply making the kind of game that he'd want to play. This is, by the way, right here, this is what crashes industries. When it starts turning into, it gets too expensive to make what you want to make. So it starts turning into just chasing what's successful. What came before? Let's just do that. That's how Concord flopped as bad as it did. That's probably why Highguard's going to flop as bad as it is. And to be honest, kind of feels like that's what is going to happen to Marathon as well. Because all these games, to me, strike me as very samey. They already exist elsewhere. Make something different. It's an infinite, vast landscape in the universe to make games. Yet they keep falling back to the same first-person shooter and doing this in it. Extraction shooter. Team-based squad shooter. Make something new. It's not even, you can't even make it better because the games that came before it are so good already. So you can't even make it better. Right now, Fallen is at the demo stage. I would say pre-vertical slice, says Burgess. It's in this kind of middle space where there are some things that are clearly work in progress or placeholder to see how it feels, and there are things that are very far along. The project started life several years ago when Burgess got in touch with his old mentor at EA, Scott Blackwood, who was executive producer on the Skate series, but had since retired. He was the one who said, "You know what? I'm sick of doing nothing. I was too young to retire. Pitch me something," said Burgess. And I pitched him a few things over the years, but Fallen was the one that made him go, "I love this." Blackwood supplied some funding for a prototype, but then in 2023, he passed away. "So I've been carrying the flag ever since," says Burgess. He adds that Blackwood's idea was to search for funding via private venture capital route using his industry connections. He was saying, if we can maybe bypass publishers and get an angel who gets it on board, that might be the way to go because publishing is having some real challenges. And this was back 3 years ago when we were first talking about the project. I think he was already seeing which way the wind was blowing, which, by the way, I'm surprised that Elon Musk has not like gone more into being an investor in the games industry. I'm shocked that he hasn't created his own publishing brand and stuff like that. I mean, he's a very busy man and he already is ahead of a bunch of other companies, but still, he's a big time gamer. I would think this is a direction he would have gone already. Burgess has even considered crowdfunding, but he says that the appetite for original IP amongst audiences has waned over the past decade after they've been burned or by unfinished or unsatisfactory crowdfunded projects. Nowadays, he believes that nostalgia is king in the crowdfunding world, which tends to be focused on spin-offs of established IPs. Yeah, I'd agree with that, by the way. When it comes to crowdfunding, if it's something people already know about and it's a sequel that you're bringing back to life, there's a market for that. I don't think crowdfunding is a good way to go for any independent developer with a new IP. That's like, no, don't do that. That's bad. Find a way to finance it in the private equity market. I agree. Nevertheless, he thinks a hybrid crowdfunding model could be an option. If a publisher says, "Hey, if you can raise X amount, then we'll match it," then absolutely, that's on the table. All right. His conversations with publishers have routinely returned to a single topic: AI. Every publisher I've talked to has brought it up. "So, have you thought about how AI might be able to save you money on this?" Almost all of them. They want to know that you're thinking about it and that you understand its potential. And this right here is how you know AI is the future of gaming, because that's what the investors are willing to put their money into. The studios that stray away from it are going to need to create it from the ground up, from scratch, without much assistance financially elsewhere, and it will destroy the potential for a lot of the games. Accordingly, in an attempt to reduce the budget, Burgess has earmarked AI for use in localization support and QA, as well as anime. That's what Square Enix did. They got rid of their QA team and they're doing AI QA automation, as well as animating some of the Renaissance style paintings found in Hell. Nice. That said, he's far from a true AI believer. "I'm not waving the flag of AI by any stretch because I've seen some awful outputs from some of my own work," he said. "I would never allow AI to write any dialogue ever." Okay, fair. I could see a case where AI could write dialogue, depending on the game. Maybe not for a single player experience, but depending on the style and stuff like that, it could potentially be there for it. But as far as textures and stuff like that no one even cares about, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Or if you want to use AI for assisting with the animations and walking and stuff like that, I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. I don't know why everyone hates it so much. Instead, it's all about getting that budget down to a level potential funders might accept. Burgess reckons that without any AI use, he'd be having to ask for around 1.8 million rather than 1.5. But there are limits to how far he's willing to go. "I'm not going to sell my soul and be like, yeah, I'll do it myself. Let me prompt this whole game into existence." No, I want to work with really talented people and make something cool. But if integrating that in a way that doesn't affect creativity, but helps to save a little bit of money and gets the game out there to people and gives us a chance to make something cool and memorable and then make something else after that, it's something I have to factor in. Fittingly, giving the subject a fall in itself, it's akin to a deal with the devil. Man, the journals can't help themselves. They hate AI. But at this point, after a months-long fruitless search for funding, the frustration is setting in. I just want to make the damn game, Burgess sighs. So I saw something curious and in line with this on X earlier today from friend of the channel, Notch, who said this: tech CEOs be like, you will be replaced by AI. And I'm thinking, oh, sweet. I'll be able to hire more people. And I promise you, I'm not the only one. That is very refreshing to hear, because as much as I am fine with AI being a part of games, I don't want games to turn into AI creating the games. I do genuinely believe a human element needs to be the driving force behind the game. It really does. So it's refreshing to hear Notch, the creator of Minecraft, say that he wants to hire more people when he hears other people worried about being replaced by AI. Thomas Mahler replied to him, couldn't agree more. This whole short-term thinking that's going on right now will just help to create all new giants. So good developers want good people, but they also understand that AI is a part of the games as well. It's a tool, not a replacement. I get really annoyed with the journal mafia that they don't even want to have the conversation. It's just like, no, shut it off. It's done. You said AI. We're canceling your game. We're getting our nose ring buddies on board to destroy it. I can't deal with that.